Welcome back, listeners, to Off Over 50 and Fired, Now What with Linda
and Shelley.
So last time, Shelley, we discussed about the ins and outs of networking on LinkedIn with one of our listeners, Scott. So tell them, Shelley, what we're going to be doing today.
Well, Linda, in this episode, we'll be discussing ways to network the old-fashioned way, face-to-face, on the phone, or in real time. It's all about getting social, Linda. We'll have 2 episodes on getting out there. However, let's first start with our wine recommendation, which is the Latitude 42 Crianza, a Rioja from Spain.
It's always nice to start with a nice glass of wine.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So to get a bit deeper into networking, Shelley, in real life, we have a one-off segment. We brought back one of our past colleagues, Prem, who had a great deal of experience to share about the area of real-time networking with strategic partners and past colleagues.
And it's amazing how much you can get out of your past colleagues and strategic partners. You don't realize what kind of connections you could get.
Yeah, they could be very key to your next opportunity.
Absolutely.
So we'd like to welcome back Prem. It's really nice to have you back again.
Linda, Shelley, thanks so much for having me back.
And I have to say, we heard that there was quite a bit of reaction for when you were on our podcast last.
I hear it's your all-time record podcast.
Yeah, I heard you're up for one of the Emmys, an Emmy nomination.
I don't. Well,
for best podcast.
Let's go to Los Angeles together.
I'd love that.
We'll be on the red carpet.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Prem, I know you've got a lot of connections with suppliers and strategic partners. Have you been able to talk to them and connect with them since you've left the company?
Shelley, they've actually been one of my best sources of developing networks. So there's been a number of people I've talked to that provided insights, research for us when I was at the company. Different data analytics, other tools in the area I was working in, and building those good partnerships as we were, we developed workshops together. We developed, different forums together when I was at the company. You got to know these people well, right? They learned to trust your abilities and vice versa. So they were some of the first people I called after I received the restructure notice. And they have been incredible about helping me meet other people across, other companies I know, because some of these folks work with other CPG organizations and they get asked for, hey, do you know someone good who could fit in this role? And so I get a call on things like that. So, stayed very close with them. Talk to them maybe, a core group of 5 to 10 people every 2 months or so, just to kind of keep fresh and connected. So, yeah, incredible. They've been very good to me.
Yeah, so I think, to that point, Prem, one of the things we need to think about, even if you're still working somewhere, is try to build that relationship with your strategic partners, because you just never know. You never know when the other shoe's going to drop, and you might lose your job, and you might need them as another networking vehicle, right?
I think it's a great point, Shelley. There may be times when I worked with a couple of them that I wanted nothing more than just to tell them off, right? Because they're like coming in with some of these
stupid ideas.
Yeah, it's really stupid ideas, right? But depending on, or ideas that just weren't really well thought out sometimes, and you got to figure out the ones that you respected and liked. And the way I always offered feedback was, in a positive, constructive manner, because, like you said, you never know. And, these people know a lot of other people. So I wanted to be sure that there was, things were done professionally, if I offered feedback, professionally, business-like, but at the same time, there was pushback, because you still have to have a relationship where there's respect there.
So one of the things was, once you leave the company and then you want to continue sort of that relationship with that strategic partner, it might be uncomfortable for some people to actually do those initial contacts and things like that. How do you kind of engage back with them when you don't have that previous connection through the company?
Really good question, Linda. What I've come to find is, you sometimes just cast a wide net, right? There are these people, the 5 to 10 were probably more like 15, 20 initially of people that I'd worked with. I cast a wide net. There are 5 to 10 that ended up coming back and being very I want to help you. I'm going to keep continuing being engaged with you. Because they also, as I started to understand, their credibility depends on doing the networking, helping ensure that they knew that they were the experts in their field. Yeah, they not only knew the information, but they knew talented people out there. So they only enhanced their own value when they talk to other organizations. So to me, it was a little wider net, and then I just honed it as, I saw people being more willing to engage and willing to support and help that process.
Yeah, and I also think, Prem, it's a two-way street, right? So they're helping you in terms of maybe getting other connections. But you know what? When you land someplace else, you might want to bring them in as a strategic partner because you've worked really well with them and you've got really, and they can offer a lot of value. So I think it's one hand washes the other a lot of times as well.
Absolutely, Shelley. I think you're spot on. I mean, that's exactly what I think.
As always.
Things happen every once in a while, right? But I think that is exactly right. And I would actually add to that. So they're looking for that future potential, and I trust them. So there's a trust there that I'd say, hey, at least come and bid for this business or something. But the second piece is there's actually been one or two of them that have already called and said, hey, I'm thinking about something right now. I'm thinking about how to create a global structure for this, this area that you're working on and whatnot. Can you give me your thoughts on what you think you do? So there's two-way, even not down the road, there's even two-way going on now where I'm giving them a complete download of, here are some things you need to think about as you were to, they're writing a white paper. Here's some things you need to keep in consideration. So there's a lot of two-way going on, immediately as well.
Yeah, and that could also lead to maybe some project work for you, right?
That's the hope. I think, and it actually has in some cases already. I'm working with some people on a few projects that have come out of, networking with people that have sent me to other networks that are looking for the type of talent that, and expertise I bring to the plate.
And also, I think with that engagement with the strategic partners, it also gives you the capability to kind of keep up your skills, keep yourself in the game, and make sure that you know what the latest is out there, and also to practice sort of your communication skills and going back and forth with someone in the topic of expertise that you're in.
Yeah, I agreed. Doing that, Linda, has actually helped me. One of the people I've worked with and networked with actually called me up and said, hey, we have this conference. We have a 2-day conference on all things that, you've worked on in the past, and we're going to update it. Why don't you just come to it? It costs $3,000 normally. Just come to it. You're covered. So that happens because you end up doing that. They're, Shelley, to your point, the two-way, they're investing in you saying, hey, we'll let you come for free to a pretty expensive conference, and they're hoping that down the road that you'll be able to, again, at least keep them in mind as you're doing this. So absolutely, I think it's hard, right? At first, I'm like, do I feel embarrassed about this? Do I feel embarrassed saying this is what happened? But it's happening so much to so many talented people everywhere that the folks that talk to get it. They get it, and I said the good ones and the most connected ones want to help because they get it's mutual benefit.
Yep, and you can't feel embarrassed. I mean, it's your initial reaction, but you're right. I mean, it's happening everywhere. It's reality. And we got to figure out how to move on.
It is today's reality. That there's no longer this whole idea that you're going to stay with a company for 30 years anymore. I mean, you're lucky if you have 3 to 6 years at a company now. And it's more about finding the right fit and just then moving on to the next opportunity as you move through.
Yep, absolutely agree.
And just one more thing, Lynn, I really liked what you said about keeping up your skill set, and keeping your skills sharp, because it can really, if you're not, you're out gardening all the time and you're not doing stuff, keeping your skills up, you can lose it really easily and you become rusty. And you don't want to be rusty because you always have to seize every moment because you never know when you might run into somebody, and you want to talk to them in an intelligent way and be on top of things. Absolutely.
I still get, there's a couple of areas I still do Google Alerts every day, that I'm reading articles every morning. I get up, they show up in my box at 7:30 in the morning. I get up, it's the first way I start out my day is reading this. I still have friends in the industry that are sending me white papers and articles to keep me fresh. So if I'm not doing those things, then, the skill sets that I need to get into the role I want to get into are now several months old. So in areas I'm working in, that's like years. So you have to keep fresh, and you have to use all the tools available to you at your disposal.
Yeah, you're right. Keep fresh. I think it's important, just what you said, keep fresh. And the areas that we've all been accustomed to working in, everything's real time, right? So
absolutely.
You really have to be on top of it, or you're yesterday's news.
Shelley, you talk about gardening, right? My wife keeps talking about, hey, when this all started, I was actually, a little nervous, but more excited for the journey of spending some time and being able to do things around the house, and had the list. I think I've maybe knocked off one thing off that list of 20 things because I'm busy doing these things. So I'm sure there'll be a point where I'll have to rush and catch up on all those projects, but it's the reality. I wish I could garden a little bit more.
Right, this whole idea of networking, it's actually a job in itself. It's full time when you really are trying to look for the right opportunity and right fit. I would have envisioned I would have had more time to do things I wanted to, as opposed to just do this, networking and calling people and, doing a little bit of searching job boards and all that. But it was really spending time every week making lists of, hey, here's who I want to talk to, and here are the type of people I want to talk to, and here's who's reaching out to me. I could have chosen to not do that initially, but I think I would have made me more anxious. So it was important to me to get out there because it keeps me, like you said, fresh, focused, and it's also evolving helping me understand the roles I think I wanted to do a few months ago are very different than they were, because I'm learning about what it takes to be successful by talking to people. They're helping me create pictures of what I can really do with what my background is. It's been really exciting.
So on that note about talking with people, I know that you've done a lot in terms of, networking and blah, 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 but have you been talking to people at, your past company to help you?
Yeah, they've also been, really good, in a couple different spaces, right? So I'll talk to them on, hey, I've heard this terminology being used in the market. I don't quite understand that, but I know you and I worked on that very closely. I'll call a friend up at the company, and he spent a half hour and just said, hey, here's what that means. Here are what the implications of that are, and help walk me through stuff. This one person in particular has also been terrific about, hey, I got a call from a recruiter about this type of role, and I thought of you first, because they called them and said they're looking for the background of people at the company that you're at, and here are the type of skill sets we're looking for. So referred it on to me. So that, those are some areas of particular help that they're doing. So yeah, they've been absolutely tremendous. The other cool thing is the people who I worked so closely with there, again, the people that know me, they know my work style. So before I go into interviews I've had, I'll call them and say, what do you think my gaps are going to be if I'm going to go into this interview? Because they've worked with me on a project, and they've helped, fix and correct and give me feedback, incredibly helpful. So there's been a number of spots where I've had, I talk to them weekly. I talk to colleagues weekly there, and it's been incredibly helpful.
Great. So they've been gap fillers. Lynn, how many times have you reached out to people?
Well, I've talked to people who are still at the company where I was restructured out, but I haven't engaged them in the way that Prem is doing it. Like, I've done it more, how are you doing, what's going on, and we've been catching up more on a personal basis. But I really haven't engaged to ask them for either assistance or feedback, which I thought was really interesting. What you just talked about is, they do know you best. And, what are some ways that you might need to steer the interview, or what things you need to be cautious about, and be able to have like some responses in your back pocket to make sure that you can be addressed. And you're right, they do know you the best. And if they are, looking for a person, they know sort of the feedback to give you on what you should or should not focus on. So I think that's great. What about you, Shelley?
It's a big fat zero, Lynn. I haven't talked to anybody.